The following program contains graphic material, including offensive language. Viewer discretion is advised.
My question is, will you accept the results of your election in November?
I'm going to win the election and I will accept that result.
If you lose, will you accept that?
I'm going to win the election and I will accept that result.
And I will totally accept the results of this great and historic presidential election if I win.
Are you ready?
Hey everybody, it's Jeff. It's nice to see everybody here and well and everything. I hope you've all been having a good weekend. It's been nice here for the most part and not very cold actually. It's been kind of warm and sunny. It was a little bit cloudy earlier, but it really turned off nice. So as we approach winter, the leaves in the state are all changing their colors like they do, and if you're visiting the state, now is the best time to be taking pictures of that, because it's very pretty to see that. So at this point in time, we are very close to having our midterm elections here. It's just 2 weeks away, I guess, if that, and you know, there's a lot more political tensions building up as we get closer to it. And one of those individuals here that is really putting a lot out there is Kari Lake, who's running for governor of Arizona. And Kari Lake is a former, I guess she worked as a journalist or something like that in the media for a time. And now she's on the other side of the desk, as it were, as you know, media personalities try to get answers out of her, which she's very good at evading. Okay, and one of the things that's been going on is, you know, she talks about Trump's election and how it was stolen from him. She's a big believer of that, even though most reporters that you hear will ask that question with the caveat that, hey, you know, it was a fair and square election, so why do you say that it was a cheat? Okay, why do you think there was that going on? And people like Kari Lake and others in the Republican Party simply will not admit that Trump lost that election. They just won't, and I don't know why it benefits them, except maybe perhaps Trump is giving them money or support in some way, and they are told not to say that Trump lost the election. Okay, otherwise you will not get support from Trump and your campaign will go down in flames. That being said, perhaps Kari Lake's only chance of winning the governorship of Arizona is her getting support from Trump and Trump alone. It doesn't really matter so much how many votes she gets, because apparently, and in my opinion, they have voter intimidation going on in Arizona, and in my guesstimate, as you would probably say, They plan on stealing the election in that state. Okay, the Republicans. They're going to take it in any way they can to get her in that office down there. So I feel like, this is really unfair to the voters. Although a lot of Republican voters in Arizona don't seem to care how she wins this thing. She won't even admit what she'll do if she loses. She just keeps saying, when I win, I'll accept the win. In other words, if she accepts the win, she won't accept the loss. And she'll pull a Trump when she loses the election and say that it was cheated, it was stolen from her. Okay? So that's her fucking motive or her operational status at this point, is that if she loses down in Arizona, she will not accept that loss, and she'll just chalk it up as another liberal Democrat attempt at stealing an election. Okay? But if she wins, she won't say a word. Okay? And I think that kind of goes across the board for all Republicans running for seats right now. They're all going to play that card because it worked so well. For Trump, it's turned the government on its ass by him going around and saying all these things that the election was stolen from him. It's like, the government doesn't know what to do when you got a person that goes around saying you stole this from me and has no proof. It's never happened before. Okay, no politician has ever gone as far as Trump has in trying to convince people that there was fraud when they have absolutely no evidence to prove it. The government simply cannot seem to deal with this. Despite the hearings, despite the insurmountable evidence that's been dumped on us that Trump is lying out his fucking ass and that he has no proof, it doesn't seem to matter. Okay? Right now, they're talking about, well, is Trump going to answer the subpoena to go and testify in the January 6th hearing? And people are saying, I doubt it. Like it's a foregone conclusion. Like, why should he? And it's like, well, what the hell good is subpoenaing this fucking asshole if he's not going to show? I mean, look what they did to Bannon. Okay, for not, responding to a subpoena. They gave him a slap on the wrist. Okay, it was nothing, because the government never had to do this before. Everything that's happening right now with Trump and what happened after January 6th is all new territory for this country. We've never had to deal with this situation before. And so the precedent we are setting looks very weak. Okay? We can't seem to hold high officials over the fire for accountability here. We don't seem to have that ability to do so. And what's that saying to the future of our government? That, hey, if you guys commit a big crime, if you wait till you're president, you're more than likely to get away with it. You can tie the courts up for years, with a subpoena problems and appeals and all kinds of fucking ways to just dodge the bullet. And they will be forever trying to sift through all that shit. Okay? And if you stack the courts with people that your chances of running the timetable out on this is greater. Okay? You'll never have to answer for these things. And that's what Trump's done here. Okay? And believe me, they're going to learn, the Republican Party is going to learn all the mistakes they made originally about trying to overturn an election. So the next time they try this, it's going to work much better. And if we're not ready for that, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know why, we're even considering the fact that there's hope here. Because if we're not going to fight the right wing back with everything we got, okay, then we might as well just, take our flags down and say, we'll wait till the new flag is made so we can put that back up, because it's not going to be the same one. The United States simply will not exist, because that's where they're headed. That's where all this is headed, folks, is they're trying to overturn not only an election, but they're trying to overturn a government here. And people like Kari Lake are facilitating that by running cover for a criminal, okay? By echoing a criminal's lies, by echoing his excuses, okay? So what kind of a person does this make Kari Lake, okay? And, for her to be talking like this about, Trump should be president and all that, and then trying to evade when she's asked, well, do you plan on challenging the election if you lose it? Okay? Do you plan on doing that? And she won't even answer the question because, for one thing, she knows what she's going to do. She's going to challenge it. She's going to deny that she ever lost. And, that's the way it's going to be with her. And, one of the other things that, she's been up to doing here is, conveying anti-Semitic, statements, thinly veiled ones, to people as she, does her, public rants or whatever you want to call it. And she keeps bringing up Mark Finchman, the Republican candidate for Arizona's Secretary of State. And he keeps bringing up the name of George Soros, okay? And here's an article here. It says, GOP Secretary of State candidate Mark Finchman denies hating Jews by being more anti-Semitic. And this was written by E.J. Montini. Mark Finchman, the Republican candidate of Arizona Secretary of State, has claimed again and again and again that rich Jews are financing his opposition, but he says this does not make him anti-Semitic. Finchman claims that rich Jews are directing the media, but he says this does not make him anti-Semitic. Finchman says essentially that if you don't vote for him, rich Jews will control the government, but he says this does not make him anti-Semitic. Finchman gets called out and doubles down. Last week, as part of a column about Finchman's pal and conspiracy cohort, Kari Lake, the Republican candidate for governor, I noted Finchman's latest anti-Semitic trope. He published a tweet reading, quote, "Democrat politicians on the ballot in Arizona are liars and deceivers. They want total control over you in our state. Their loyalty is to George Soros and Mike Bloomberg. They want Arizona to be like California. Do not be deceived," unquote. I might have pointed out another anti-Semitic tweet from the same day in which Fincham wrote, quote, "People say, oh, don't talk about Trump for the general election. I am a Trump supporter. I am endorsed by Trump, but I am also honest. Democrats and independents, I will protect your vote. It is the guy who is funded by Soros you should worry about. He will sell you out," unquote. In response, the Jewish Community Relations Council of Greater Phoenix tweeted, quote, at Real Mark Finchman, "Your reliance on anti-Semitic tropes to spearhead your campaign is an embarrassment to the majority of Arizona residents," unquote. I believe that is true. I'd also like to believe we're better than that. Oath Keeper insurrectionists are not patriots. Fincham, however, is betting on just the opposite. He tweeted in response, quote, "Calling out Soros and Bloomberg and their political objectives is not anti-Semitic. This is a political discussion, not a religious one. I love the Jewish people. I do not love Marxists who hate America. The gaslighting of patriots must end now," unquote. Fincham calling himself a patriot is almost as outrageous as him claiming not to be anti-Semitic. Fincham is a proud member of the Oath Keepers, whose leader and others have been charged with seditious conspiracy in connection with the insurrection of January 6. Fincham was at the Capitol that day mingling with the mob. He is now spouting the lunatic conspiracy theory that former Vice President Mike Pence orchestrated a quote-unquote coup of Donald Trump, as if the election didn't happen, as if every review and court case of the election found nothing that would change the outcome. The Oath Keepers, by the way, are also xenophobes, while white nationalists, Christian nationalists, and conspiracy theorists with who knows how many other festering prejudices. Patriots? No. In addition, Fincham and Kari Lake are proud supporters of Republican State Senator Wendy Rogers, an Oath Keeper like Fincham, who shares the same sick tropes, the same sick beliefs as Fincham. Rogers called Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky a, quote, global puppet, unquote, of Soros, and also shared a picture of social media of herself next to a dead rhino branded with the Star of David. The day after the Jewish Community Relations Council called out Fincham for his anti-Semitism, Fincham doubled down on his anti-Semitism, adding a photo to a tweet reading in part, quote, I need to raise a $15,000 by midnight to stop the deceiver who is bankrolled by billionaires Soros and Bloomberg, unquote. That so-called deceiver is Fincham's Democrat opponent Adrian Fonte, who Fincham says cannot be trusted to run a fair election. This is the same Adrian Fonte who, as Maricopa County recorder, oversaw an election in 2020 in which Fonte himself was defeated. Fonte, a former Marine, has drawn to his campaign a number of longtime Republicans who have gone public with their support. To that, Fincham tweeted, "Republicans who endorse Adrian Fonte are not Republicans. They are Marxists pretending to be Republicans, deceiving voters," unquote. So to review, according to Fincham, independent thinking Republicans who are disinclined to support him are quote-unquote Marxists, while he is not an anti-Semite. Got it. So, yeah, this is kind of, you know, what's going on is this is what's in Kari Lake's, you know, cabal here of people that are helping her run. And like I said, Kari Lake is a person that obviously is controlled by Donald Trump, his support in many ways. And it's unfortunate that, you know, that Trump is even out there, to put it mildly, okay, that he's even out there, because his being out there and allowed to continue doing what he's been doing, that he's being investigated about, and, you know, making him into a criminal by doing, is by interfering and, you know, turning our elections into circuses. And we can see that as we watch all these Republican candidates run for their seats, is that they're all sounding the same. Okay, they all sound like Donald Trump. They all sound like ridiculous idiots, okay, that believe in, you know, other worldly things, okay. They create this, you know, specter of voter fraud that never existed, okay. They don't care that they're looked at as being ridiculous and lunatics, because there's millions of them all doing this, so they feel justified in continuing to do it because, hey, if the guy over there is doing it, I can do it too. They don't feel any shame for it because everybody that's on their side is doing it, all right? So when you got a whole bunch of people all speaking the same talk, why should any one of them feel at all embarrassed, you know, by what they're saying, you know? Unless you're the only person in the room talking like that, yeah, you're going to feel embarrassed when other people look at you like you got 6 heads, but there's nobody doing that, see? And Kari Lake feels comfortable talking like she's got 6 heads because nobody is going to boo her or shout her out for saying these things. She's getting applause, she's getting support, she's getting money, and most of all, she's got Trump. So what the hell, you know, what motive does she have to be honest? Okay, Republicans would rather never be honest about a goddamn thing they talk about because they know being dishonest is how they win elections. Because they have nothing to offer you. They have no agenda. Okay, they've already said that if the Democrats pick up seats next month, that they're going to deliberately, crash the economy if they can. Okay, they're going to try and do that. So that way it looks bad for Biden. And this is the kind of agenda they have. It's just vengeance. It's just anger. It's just, we're not here to fix anything. We're here to make things worse if you don't go our way. All right? But don't expect any results. All this talk here about immigration, that Biden did nothing for immigration, is bullshit. Okay? If it was such a big issue, with Republican voters, then why haven't they, when Trump was in office, done anything other than that stupid idea of a wall that everybody kept screaming at Trump, saying it's not going to do anything, it's not going to stop anything, and he was spending your money, your tax dollars on building this albatross that really never turned into anything. Okay, it's down there right now, sitting in the ground, unfinished, broken in pieces, all rusting apart, okay? It wasn't even meant to last. It was just a mask over the problem, or, a Band-Aid over a problem that made it look like the problem was solved. Let's build a wall. you know, and everybody will say, yo, that's it. That's how the problem's going to solve. No, it didn't solve a fucking thing, okay? No wall would have ever stopped immigration. That's never going to stop immigration, folks, okay? And the fact is, we don't have a right to put a stop to immigration, period. People have a right to come into this country if they want to. Illegally is a different matter, but legally they can. And I really think that most Republicans would rather nobody came into this country from Mexico, period, because of their racism against people of a tan-colored skin coming into this country, okay? They just don't want these people from Mexico here at all, period. So that doesn't say much for, you know, people already living in America who are from Mexico or from, you know, from, you know, the mid-American, you know, country area of the world, okay? It's not, they don't like them, period. How else can I say it? I mean, I got no words to just say it. They just hate those people here. They don't want them in this country, period. And they would prefer if we could just round up the ones that are here already and send them back to Mexico. That's what they want to do. And how do I know this? Because look how they treated the illegal immigrants that came here. They put them all on a fucking bus, put them on a plane, and shot them out into another part of the United States, okay? They did human trafficking. They broke the law, okay? DeSantis and the governor there down in Texas. And they did it gleefully, which tells me they don't care. They promised these people you're going to have all kinds, you're going to be set up when you get to where you're going. They had nothing. They were all lied to, and they were all sent there. And they did this on purpose to try to make people, to show America that, hey, look, even the Democrat states don't want these people around. But guess what happened when they landed there? The people opened them with welcoming arms and helped them out. Okay? And it goes to show you, you know, the attitudes of many up in this neck of the woods ain't the same as the way they are down there. The South is still wrestling with its problem with racism down there just as much as they were during the 50s. They just ain't coming out as openly about it. They can't do, you know, the whippings and all the hangings and shit that they did back then. But if the laws weren't in place, I guarantee you they'd still be doing it. All right? They don't want those people down there. They resent them when they see them. They might, you know, they're treated like the slaves of long ago, basically. Kick them to the curb, give them nothing, don't help them out, you know, and they make all kinds of, you know, bullshit tropes about Latino Americans and stuff like that that they ain't ashamed to speak of publicly, especially Trump, calling them murderers and rapists and all that shit. Okay, that right there was the beginning of opening up that Pandora's box. Because when they hear a person running for president talking like that, who the hell is not going to keep their mouth shut then afterwards, you know? So, like I said, Kari Lake here, her association with people, certain calibers of people that are on her team, including a convict that she's got working on her campaign trail. I mean, this is what the best they can put together for the Republican Party in Arizona, and apparently nobody down in that state seems to think there's anything wrong with that. Okay, and she's all against, you know, abortion. Don't get me wrong. I mean, she's all against that. And even though that's only going to get her more or less turnout of voters, she feels like in Arizona she's got a better chance of winning even by standing on that principle of being anti-abortion. So I guess, you know, it's sad, you know, that state has gone down the road it has, where they look at Kari Lake as a legitimate candidate for a governor. And I can only imagine that in a different time in the past, somebody like her never would have got this far. Okay, speaking the way she speaks and having all these people surrounding her that have questionable backgrounds, where she's tied to these goddamn extreme right-wing groups and stuff. She would have been laughed out of the Republican race a long time ago, and you'd never hear from her ever again. But now, after years and years of people just not paying attention and not contributing to voting, this is what a lack of interest in politics has done for Arizona. All right, and this is what happens when people, are just I guess say Democrats are not interested in taking up the fight. Okay, they think the fight will be done for them through other political means, but there is no other political means when you're talking about a state race here for governor. The strength has to be there, and if these people are not going to get out and vote, then you're going to see that state slowly turn more and more red to the point where it's going to be bright red, and you're going to be bright red with anger at what happens to that state. All right. I mean, remember she was talking about, we want the government out of Arizona, period. And somebody had rightly retorted that, hey, look, you take government out of this state, you can close up all the fucking military bases that this state has. Okay, you can shut down all the government programs that we have, and your budget is going to go through the fucking roof here to provide services that nobody's getting anymore. Taxes are going to go up through the damn roof to pay for those services, okay? Because, big businesses are going to do it for nothing. And, you're going to be looking at a lot of unemployed people. It's going to cripple the state. You can't just go around and say, I'm going to lock out the government. They're not going to have anything to do with the state. No, you can't do that. That's the same argument that people say about, why we can't, secede from the country, is that we would lose so much in the process of doing that we would basically be cut off from all aid. Whenever there's a problem that happens in our state, the government won't be there to help us anymore. Okay, and it's not a good idea. It's not a good idea. I mean, these people, especially the Republican ones like Ron Death Sentence, who was sitting here talking bad about the government, and then when their state's hit by a huge hurricane, he's on his knees before Biden, kissing his ring to give him aid down there and to help out. These people are confronted by their very ideas, and they're embarrassed by it. And nobody really makes much out of it. That, hey, look, this is a guy who was telling you he didn't want government involved in his state, and now the state is buried underwater, and now he's over there in Washington, D.C. asking Biden for help. So his own stance got turned around on him. He doesn't mean what he says, All right, let's go to commercial. We'll be right back.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me!
This is me.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Ruth McLaughlin, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you. Original.
Oj, kolla här. Kolla här.
Det var bara en lavin eller?
Ja, den är kontrollerad. Det är såna jäkla krafter.
Är det safe?
Ja. De vet vad de gör. Harry, det är lugnt. Harry!
Trump is bad for the party, I disagree with you. I think President Trump is good for the party.
What is your reaction to hearing what Donald Trump says?
Disgusted. And he doesn't have the temperament or judgment to control himself when he gets mad. He's a jackass. Donald Trump is the most unelectable Republican I've seen in my lifetime. And I'm a Republican and he's not. He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. I think he's a kook. I think he's crazy. I think he's unfit for office. He doesn't represent my party, and he shouldn't be commander-in-chief. We found something in common. I've come to like him, and he likes him.
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it. Write for Pollution Booklet, Box 1771, Radio City Station, New York.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it. It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Alright, so here are some less political news and stuff that's going around. McDonald's keeps making the headlines. I don't know if you've been keeping up with it, but McDonald's always keeps coming back with some headline, or at least they're paying people to put headlines out there for the news agencies here because they're hurting financially. Okay. The problem is they ain't, I don't know how you people are looking at this, but have you noticed that the commercials that McDonald's has been putting out on all these limited time offer, we're bringing this back, with a limited time offer. What is it with these people that they can't just say, look, we're going to cut prices here on some of this stuff, or we're going to put coupons out there for people to use, like Burger King does. Why can't they go that route? Why are they doing this to entice people to come back to eating at their restaurant for a limited time only? It seems to me like they're hesitant about taking that step to offer people affordable food at a discount, okay? And it's not like the food is like really food anyway, but it's just the idea that they can't seem to admit that their prices are high. And that a lot of things that they used to offer aren't there on the menu anymore. The menu has been slashed almost by a third of what they used to have before the pandemic. And now a lot of people aren't eating there because a lot of their things that they used to like aren't there. But it seems to me now they're like, let's say, well, let's bring this back and see how many more people that draws than the other thing we brought back for a limited time. You know, they're selectively trying to, you know, bring things back, but they're not really interested in cutting prices so much, okay? And to me, that just seems like, you know, they're playing with people, they're playing with their companies, what they're doing. And they can do this for so long, but eventually, you know, nothing's going to change. Because when they still pay in high prices for whatever they're getting at McDonald's, you know, they're still going to lose customers. Okay, I mean that's a given, right? Other companies like Wendy's, they're bringing back some things, but they also offer coupons for discounts on stuff. Okay, but they're not as good as, say, Burger King. Burger King really has a lot of coupons. For a lot of things that they sell. They have the best bargains out there, I think, for people interested in eating at these fast food places. I get these coupons all the time in the Penobscot Times paper, and you know, they got like 2 pages of coupons that last over a month practically, and you know, you can't beat their prices, which is why Burger King is always full of people. KFC, they have coupons. So everybody's got coupons, and the only one that doesn't is McDonald's. You know, and I'm thinking, well, how is it that they plan on staying in business when they're being outsold on every other fast food joint? You know, if they want people to come back and eat at their place, then they gotta have coupons. That's what people want these days. Everybody that buys has a coupon now, and they just seem to want to avoid doing that for whatever excuse they have for it. So anyway, enough about that. That was just something that I noticed. Let's see, and here's an article here from Insider, and it's entitled, "After volunteering at a food bank, I'll never give out candy on Halloween again. Instead, I'm giving trick-or-treaters something better." Let's see. As a food bank volunteer, I saw an almost constant parade of people dropping off bags of unwanted trick-or-treat candy in the days after Halloween. We only had enough space for 2 milk crates worth of candy, so most of the donations went straight into the trash. Where I worked, extra candy was occasionally set out on tables during food distribution days. We'd invite people to take as much as they wanted, but most of it remained in the bowls at the end of the day. Then we'd set it out on the table in the volunteer area. Just like the candy that appears in workplace break rooms after Halloween, most of it got tossed out at the end of the week. It was always heartbreaking for me to see the waste. The resources that went into candy no one wanted would have been better used on nourishing foods that might fill up somebody's belly. At my food bank orientation, I was also instructed never to pack candy in food boxes for our clients. We could give out items like baking chocolate if someone asked for it, but food banks are in the business of trying to give people nutrition. Candy has no nutritional value, and oftentimes our clients didn't want it. Some food banks have even insinuated no candy, no soda donations policies. The policies acknowledge that people with food insecurity tend to have lower quality diets. They are also meant to educate the public about the need to share nutrient-rich foods. People with food insecurity are used to being given high-calorie, low-nutrition foods, but our clients actually love getting fresh vegetables and fruit that wasn't brown or squishy when clients took treats. They wanted them to be at least somewhat filling. Fruit pies went fast, but sugar birthday cakes mostly sat on a shelf waiting to be composted. Of course, every food bank might be a little different, but I bet most would prefer to receive nutritious items from their most needed lists or cash instead of candy. I'm not about to start handing trick-or-treaters salad kits or toothbrushes, but this year I'm giving out more substantial lunchbox snacks instead of candy. I'm not suggesting that packaged cookies and chips are healthy food. I know they're still snacks, but they do provide some nourishment and contain more fiber and vitamins than Skittles or Starburst. Plus, kids can still enjoy them. Last year, as I watched my nieces and nephew sort through their Halloween hauls, they reached for the snack-sized bags of chips first. If all else fails, these snacks are something I don't mind having in my own pantry, and I know that if they do not end up in the food bank, I won't have to throw them away. It's a very interesting thought here about what should we give kids on Halloween night, when they're coming around. Candy, it's always been the tradition that kids get candy. And for many people, you can get the candy at, like a Dollar Tree or something like that. And, you could save money, because if you buy the candy at like a grocery store, you're going to pay a whole lot more for a bag of candy, more than you should, I think, in many cases. This year, I don't expect that a lot of candy in these grocery stores is going to move, because, they're asking quite a bit more than they did before. And the ideas that this person brought forward isn't really going to be that much cheaper. Even these small bags of chips and stuff can be expensive. Fruits are definitely expensive. Okay. What I usually do is at Dollar Tree, they got these little rubber toys, like little spiders and stuff like that, and rings and things. I get a whole bunch of those. Okay. And it's not candy, but they're toys, like, little toys. And I figure, hey, that, they can get, lots of play out of it, because with a candy, you eat it once, it's gone. But with that, you can, play around with it. Because they got toys at these places, and sometimes you'll find these little rubber spiders and plastic toys and stuff next to the candy and stuff like that, because they're like party things, that you buy. And they come in bags, like decorations or something like that. If you want to get like cobwebbing and you put all these plastic bugs and stuff in it. I just get like that and throw that in the bowl. I might put a little bit of candy in there with it, so there's like a mixture of toys and candy in there. But it doesn't always have to be candy, essentially. Money, yeah, but money. The thing about money is you just don't want to get over carried away with that, because kids they may not like the money, but you're going to be spending more that way than you would be just buying the candy. Okay, unless you can afford it. If you can afford it, by all means. But if you're living on a budget, that's not a good thing to do. And so I figure that, I think kids would appreciate the little toys and the little candy and stuff like that as much. But yeah, I mean, nutritional value. If you're really going to be that nitpicky about stuff like that, then yes, I mean, candy obviously can't be really good to hand out. Which is why some people will take little zip bags or whatever and put a little bit of things in there for each one, so that way a kid doesn't get too much of one thing. It's all separated in little sandwich bags, and you can give it to them that way. So there's many ways you can make Halloween night better for yourself and for the kids, so that way it's not all just one thing. Certainly, we don't want to over-sugarize our kids. They got enough fucking energy as it is. Giving them more sugar is just going to keep them up all night long, and you know how that goes, people. So, yeah, it's a good article, because a lot of people are really kind of stuck in a rut when it comes to Halloween night. Now, here's something that was disgusting that happened on an airplane. This is from Business Insider, of all places to find this article. It's entitled, British Airways had to find another plane after a passenger defecated on the floor and smeared feces around the cabin. A passenger on a British Airways plane defecated on the floor before smearing feces on himself and around the cabin earlier this month. The news was first reported by the Sun. What the hell? Jeez. Friggin' neighbors. Emergency services were called to Heathrow Airport following the incident on a Boeing 777 aircraft due to fly to Lagos, Nigeria. Okay. During boarding, the male passenger took his trousers off in the economy cabin on flight BA075 on October the 7th before defecating on the galley floor. The man then sat in the feces, rubbed it into the carpet, and ran up the aisle, smearing it on seats and curtains as well as his arms. Jesus. A report seen by the Sun said the carpets and curtains were severely contaminated and recommended that a hygienic biohazard and deep clean be carried out. BA took the plane out of service for it to be cleaned. Another aircraft was found, delaying the flight's departure by about 3 hours. Only 3? A British Airways spokesperson told The Sun, quote, "We apologize to our customers for the delay to their flight and arranged for an alternative aircraft to allow them to continue their journey," unquote. It is not known what triggered this incident, whether the passenger was charged or if he has been banned from BA flights. British Airways did not immediately respond to insiders' request for comment. You know, again, why would anyone want to fly today when shit like this happens? Literally shit like this happens. You know, I just don't get it. You know, why do we spend so much time reading about these incidents with passengers, you know, losing their cool, getting into fights, acting like Karens, and now crapping all over the plane on the inside? It's like kids on a school bus. Adults are acting like children on a school bus now. You never used to hear this shit before. You know, before 9/11 happened, and I'm telling you, 9/11, yeah, it changed the world, but it also changed the airline industry big time. It made it worse, is what happened. 9/11 turned the airline industry into just fish food, okay? And it's never recovered since. It's been downhill ever since. It's been staying in the gutter ever since. Flying these days, I'd say you go. I'll take a bus. I mean, as bad as a bus is, I'll still take a bus. Okay, but I will not get on an airplane. I'm not afraid to fly, but I won't get on an airplane today because of all the friggin' hassle there is just to get on that plane, and then the possibility that just one person can delay that flight for hours if he or she decides to throw a hissy fit or start a fight or do what this idiot here did. Okay, this is insane. You know, you're giving too much to these passengers as it is. All right, and ways to stymie your friggin' service. And there needs, you know, banning people from flights. I don't know how well of a deterrent that is for future incidents. Okay, I really can't say if that's really helping at all. But all I can say is that as long as people feel like they can blow up on an airplane and do what they're doing and not feel at all unhappy about being banned from the plane, then you guys aren't doing enough there to punish these people. Okay, and to set a message out there that we will not tolerate this kind of behavior on an aircraft. When you're on the plane, you are on our turf. Okay, we're not trapped with you. You are trapped with us on the flight. So you people are going to learn how to act like human beings when you're on that plane, or we're going to put you down back on the tarmac where you can sit here and flag down a bus, take you where you want to go. It's up to you. You know, that's the way I'd be about it. But flying today is for the birds, you know. People really have no incentive, or these airlines have no reason to tempt me to get on a plane to go anywhere, okay? Because I'd be right on my nerves the whole flight, you know, just waiting for some jackass to do something, okay? It's not a happy thing anymore. And lastly here, another disturbing story here from Insider. A California school teacher was arrested after she was found hiding a missing teen boy for 2 years. Holga Castillo Olivares, 61, a school teacher at Alice Burney Waldorf-inspired K-8 school in Sacramento, was arrested on Thursday after investigators discovered she was hiding a 17-year-old Michael Ramirez in her home, according to a statement by the Rancho Cordova Police Department. Ramirez's parents reported a child missing in June of 2020 when he was 15 years old. The family told KCRA that Ramirez was last seen at his home in Rancho Cordova on May the 18th of 2020. The Rancho Cordova Police Department said Ramirez was reported missing on June 9th of 2020. The Ramirez family told the local news outlet that he was staying at a former friend's home for 2 months, and the mother of that former friend was Olivares. This past March, nearly 2 years after being reported missing, Ramirez, quote, inexplicably, unquote, returned home, according to the statement by the Rancho Cordova Police Department. The police said it then conducted a, quote, thorough investigation, unquote, and charged Olivares with detaining a minor and contributing to the delinquency of a minor, according to KCRA. The Sacramento City Unified School District said in a statement that, quote, the charges filed are for acts unrelated to the employee's assigned duties, unquote, and she, quote, was taken into custody at the school after students were dismissed for the day, unquote. She is also on administrative leave while the school district investigates. Olivares is set to appear in court on October the 24th. God only knows what was going on there with that, okay? God only knows. You know, it's just, it's sad when you see that, you know, as much as we try to fight for public schools, you know, in America, we get stories like this that come out that sandbag our efforts to try and protect these schools from Republicans who want to interfere with the means of education that children get from these places. And it only fuels their their point of view that, you know, public schools are a failure. Because if you're not looking at gun crimes, you're looking at bad teachers, you know, one or the other. And, you know, I don't know. I mean, I still stand by the belief that in days to come, public schools will become the way of the dinosaurs, okay? People won't be schooled that way anymore. It'll all be done on the internet, at home. Kids will spend their time, you know, and they'll graduate sooner because some kids are smarter than others. So kids will advance through their educational level quicker, and society will adjust how it runs things accordingly. But all education will be done at home because people will demand it. They'll pull their kids from school because A, it ain't safe, okay, and B, the teachers aren't teaching the way a lot of parents today believe the teachers should be teaching, okay, for whatever reason, political, religious, whatever you want to call it, okay. And they can stop funding for these schools, you know, that would be less money from the town budgets and stuff like that. You know, they'll get rid of the buildings, they won't have to maintain the buildings, they won't have to pay teachers. The whole thing of teaching will be changed, where teachers will be doing their jobs at home on the internet. You know, they can teach more kids that way with one teacher than they could in a classroom full of kids. And so I think that you know, the demand for teachers will go down, okay, when you can have one teacher teaching hundreds of kids at the same time, you know, on the internet. And, you know, at the same time, a market would open up for online tutors for kids who have problems getting through subjects, so it's going to open up a whole avenue of things, and I feel like one of these days that's what's going to happen, okay? Because a lot of schools right now are getting run down. They were built back in the 50s and they haven't really been touched since. And not every school is up to date like some are, with modern technologies and things like that. So they're still doing things the old-fashioned way. So I feel like, that's going to happen. The Republicans will get their way by destroying the public school system, but only because of necessity, not because of the way they think public schools are, but the way people feel like it's a good way to more streamline the system and maximize profits for the state, by, taking out the expense of having to maintain salaries and buildings, that all comes with having public education. The government itself, the federal government may not do it, but state by state, it'll probably happen until it becomes a fact of life for the entire country. Republicans have been after public schools as long as I can remember. They never liked it. For whatever reason, they change their reasons from one minute to the next, but it's always based on, their idea that kids aren't being taught right. They never suggest how kids ought to be taught, but they do suggest how certain subjects should not be taught at all. Okay, but they don't give you a good reason why they want that stuff, except some harebrained idea that they believe in that doesn't, relate to what most people think. They're just out there screaming from the outside of the house, okay, about why public schools aren't working for them. But yet a lot of these Republicans still send their kids to the public school system that they rely on, and you know what I'm saying. So it's a problem eventually that's going to become a major issue at some point, and it's going to change the way things are done in this country here as far as educating our young. So anyway, that aside, I don't know what's going to happen here with this teacher. More of what happened here is probably going to come out. So anyway, that's it for today. And I hope everybody has a great upcoming week. So I will hope that everybody keeps their ears open for any local COVID-19 and monkeypox news. And please subscribe, comment down below. And I'd like to hear any reactions or opinions or something like that to share. Even if you think I've made errors and stuff, what I've reported. I may not understand everything that I talk about, but I certainly don't mind the corrections. And please be kind to one another. It's important, and I'd like to see that as we get closer to Christmas. You know, if you don't believe in the religious aspect of Christmas, then just believe in the need to be friendly for that day. Okay, you don't have to go full Christian on Christmas to enjoy the holiday. It can be a family time. You know, just to sit around and tolerate the people that you try to stay away from the rest of the year. And I know some of you understand what I'm talking about, okay? But, you know, let's just try to be nice, okay, and tolerant. And, you know, just try to enjoy the year. It's been a very difficult year for a lot of us, and we need that time, you know, to unwind and try to enjoy things. At least put a nice bow at the end of a hard year. All right, so take care, everybody. I'll talk to you later.